Hail, hail, the Celts are here, guys, and we've had the Champions League draw. Any excuse to get the old Wanyama footage out. And I thought that I'm between studios, you can probably see as we have a difference to the background today. So I thought we'll get out live and loud for this morning. We can preview the draw that we've had. We can have a look at the opponents that we're going to have as well. So a lot of these teams I'm a bit more familiar with than the average bear, as it were. And it gives me a chance to test out the system, make sure it's all working, make sure it's all plugged in, the lights are on, the camera works, and all the rest of it. So we're on a little temporary camera, so we might see some changes over the next little while, guys, which is why we're between studios at the moment. So thanks for bearing with me. I'll just get the mic a wee bit closer to me in case I'm a bit quiet. But yeah, it was a great draw yesterday. I was really quite, I guess we'll kind of start off with what the draw is. I'm sure everyone tuning into this will have seen it already by now, of course. But in case you missed it, we've got from Pot A, or Pot 1, Leipzig and Dortmund. Pot 2, Brugge and Atalanta. Pot 3, Young Boys and Dinamo Zagreb. And then Pot 4, Aston Villa and Slovan Bratislava. So there's a few familiar names and faces and clubs here that we've seen at Celtic Park before that are maybe a bit more familiar to European football fans around the world or around Glasgow or whatever. But a really good draw overall. I did a little bit of a, I don't know if I'd call it a prediction, but I did tried to go through the draw a few hours before it happened and thinking, what is the easiest draw that we could get? Now, Leipzig and Dortmund don't really come into that reckoning for me. I'd much rather somebody maybe like City, who just can't seem to beat Brendan Rodgers, or go to Anfield at Liverpool, because we've been there before and I don't think we should be scared of them at the moment. But Bruges out of that pot, Atalanta, that's a kind of good and bad draw all at the one time. I think we've won a watch out of pot 3. Getting Young Boys and Zagreb, I think, is a fantastic draw that we could all be really, really happy with. And Bratislava has got to be one of the best pot 4 pools you could get. And Aston Villa is probably one of the worst. So a bit of a mixed bag overall. There's a bunch of you tuning in live and loud on Facebook and YouTube watching us this morning. Get into the comment section and let me know how many points you think we're going to get and your overall thoughts and reactions to the draw itself, good, bad, or indifferent. But for the stream today, guys, what I wanted to try and do was go through all this kind of clubs that we're going to be playing, the squads, and give you guys a wee bit more of an insight, a wee bit more of a heads up. And there's Dortmund there of who we're going to be playing against and kind of what to expect, because I'm seeing a lot of people saying we need to be getting 12 points. Now, I think if we get 12 points, that's the very first comment that comes in. Gary, my man, fist bump to you. Thanks for joining us. Everyone's talking about the 12 points. I guess we're assuming that's 3 from each of Bruges at home, Young Boys away, Bratislava at home, and Zagreb away. I guess that's where everyone thinks the 12 points comes from. And we could probably get that. My kind of initial gut reaction to that, but is I could see somebody, probably us, not qualifying on 12 points. So I would like us to be aiming for 13 or 14, something like that, just for that extra bit of, separating us from the pack. Cell 88, I'd be happy with 3 wins and 2 draws. So what would that get us to? 11? Yeah, I think that'll be squeaky. It could be enough, but it might be a bit tight, maybe a bit squeaky, because I've not really had a chance to go across the rest of this draw and see what the implications are for all the other teams. But the main thing about this that I think is really exciting this year, especially for us, is that this is with the... Just fix the mic, sorry. With the games that we've got here, we've got 8 games in Europe. This is the first step to European League stuff for us, which is something that I can remember reading at the back of newspapers since the turn of the millennium, really. So this is really exciting for us to play 8 different opponents, get a bigger kind of swing at progression, promotion, whatever you want to think of it as, rather than being in that little group of 4, and it's really do or die on every game. I feel this is going to go all the way to the wire with so many clubs in so many kind of different positions on the table, as it were. 4 wins was a math thought. Any away win is any away is a bonus. Yeah, I'm with you on that. It's definitely not bad. We've had worse draws, but I get deja vu from last summer when we've been on the channel talking about the Champions League draw and the transfer policy, which we might touch on today, but we've been covering it well enough on the channel, and we'll be back for a podcast or something like that quite soon anyway to go over. Yeah, I think we'll do something once the deadline on the window closes tomorrow night. So we might be live tomorrow night or Saturday morning. So hit the notification bells and all that good stuff. But I'm getting deja vu to last year, but it was like we were talking about operating from a position of strength. Brendan Rodgers was back. We just sold Jota. We want to watch Starfelt and a few other guys had left. And, you know, I remember saying, it really doesn't matter what the draw is like. We can spend 80 million, and with the wrong Champions League draw, it doesn't matter because that little group of 4 was so do or die on every match. But I've got a feeling this setup, this new format that we've got, will be a bit more open to last day drama and all sorts of shenanigans happening with people moving up and down the table. I think every game we can have a good solid push in. I think we'll start this from the top, okay? Because I want to kind of get stuck into who we're playing. So the first, we'll start with the pot 1 teams, right? Because they're the ones I'm the most familiar with, right? Borussia Dortmund and RB Leipzig. Now, Borussia Dortmund, for the majority of you will be familiar with them, of course, Champions League finalists last year. And this is the bones of their squad, like their main kind of roster that they're running with at the moment. Quite light in numbers. You know, I've not actually left out too many second string kind of players that wouldn't be featuring for them. But they've changed manager as well. You know, they've had that. Or did they change manager? Did they keep Terzic, actually? Something I want to check. Is it still Terzic? So Terzic is a Dortmund fan. And he was manager, then they let him go. Yes, Nuri Sahin. Yeah, I thought it was somebody different. So they've let go of Terzic, who was like a really good coach, but like a fan in the dugout kind of thing. And they've brought in Nuri Sahin, who was a former player, did quite well at his previous job. I can't remember where it was now, if it was youth football, if it was in Turkey or something, but he's getting a pretty good reputation for winning the game. And Nuri Sahin was a deep line kind of creative playmaker. Played for Liverpool for a wee bit, you might remember him. But he's definitely all about an attractive style of play and all the rest of it. And already, this is a kind of adaptation of shape that we've seen from Borussia Dortmund, where they're playing with 2 attacking midfielders in Brandt and Sabitzer in front of a kind of engine room of like more stable centre mids that hold the position and move the ball from left to right. Maybe one of them can go forward and overload on occasion. But Gross and Chan, Premier League level kind of engine room there, good attacking mids off the back of it. And then they're asking for width to come from Malin is a kind of a wide forward. Maybe it's Ben Sebaini, who's much more of an attacking fullback. And again, on the right side, they've got 2 quality fullbacks there. But in attack, Guirassy is the headline summer signing from them. One of the Premier League, the Bundesliga's top goal scorers last year. It's a prize package. Stuttgart, he comes in to replace Füllkrug, who is left for West Ham. And they brought in Max Bayer from Hoffenheim. Again, a lot of clubs were after him. Haller is probably on his way out. And a lot of people are tipping Bino Gittins to have a really, really big season. So we'll see how this shakes out. But if this is the way Dortmund are going to line up, and we're playing Dortmund away, so we're going to the yellow wall, this is a game that I'm not too sure we're going to get much out of, because the way we are likely to set up against this is being quite deep and quite narrow and looking to counter-attack. And with the likes of Sula, Anton, and Schlotterbeck, like we really need to, and again with the fullbacks and whoever's playing on this side, we really need to be clinical in this game. We really need to take our chances. Now, Gregor Kobel, the goalkeeper, is very beatable. He's not one of these goalkeepers that you look at and think this guy's a wall. He's a cat. You know, he's something totally different. He's definitely beatable. Hail, hail, Colin Sweeney. Good morning, my man. Again, I was tons of you joining us on Facebook and YouTube. If you're here, let us know your reaction to the draw and how many points you think we're going to get. But this is quite comfortably a pot 1 Champions League team. But as you can see, like it is quite thin in the most important areas, you know. So I'm not too sure on the actual fixture list. I think it has came out. The fixtures have been confirmed. When I should probably get that wee screen up because that would be helpful. I wonder if I look at our fixtures on flash scores, if they've been populated on that. They probably should have if they've been made official. So let's have a peek. When do we play Dortmund? No, they're not booked in on flash scores yet anyway. Okay. The timing of the game might play some relevance if Dortmund have a lot to play for or not. It is away at the yellow wall, but the Paul Lambert derby, as I'm hearing 20-minute Tims and a few other people calling it probably. But it should be a good one. I think this will be a good like football fan. This will be a great one if you love away days for Champions League and all the rest. I think this will be a good one, but it's not one I would be holding my breath on as getting something from. Again, Champions League finalists from last year, and in the attacking department, like the amount of choices and the amount of quality that they've got to really, the problem I've got with us in these situations is kind of what I've said before. Maybe Engels will come in to be like a defensive midfielder, but when we're playing teams in the Champions League that are just going to control the midfield, the centre ground, we don't really have anyone that is. I know McGregor can be like a bit of a terrier, and can get in amongst the midfield, can nip some ankles and can turn the ball over, but we don't have that shield. We don't have that defensive midfielder to just really go and challenge, in this case, the Brandts and the Sabitzers, and turn them over and then get us going. We've got three midfielders that kind of all want to do the same job when we had O'Reilly anyway. And in this situation, we play a bit deeper. So I've just got a fear. I've just got a worry that with the power of Sula, like Sula, when you see this guy, he is huge and he's very technically very, very good. And he's one of these guys, along with Schlotterbeck and Anton, like they're not going to be scared to take up some yards and go a bit higher if we give them possession. And yeah, I just fear that this is a game. I don't think this is like PSG or Barca levels where we could concede like an embarrassing amount of goals. Like this could be something that maybe we lose 2-1, maybe we get a draw, maybe we lose 3-0. But it's not something that I've got a lot of faith. I've got a lot of optimism in. Earth Nomad, good to see you. Andrea Galea, couldn't have wished for a better draw. Yeah, well, maybe he could have, but yeah, I get you. The draw's a scoosh. Mikey, I don't know about a scoosh. Iwata might be on his way out along with Naroki. Hail, Davey, good to see you. But yeah, so the Dortmund one is kind of a bit of whatever. We'll see how it goes. Leipzig, but is the other pot one team that we're a lot more familiar with. I've actually got a pretty good record against Leipzig, if I can pull it up. Let's see. And I think all of it's been Europa League and stuff like that. Yeah, so we've played them 4 times, twice in the Champions League, twice in Europa League. In the Europa League, we won away, won at home, lost away. And in the Champions League, last time we played them in 2022, we lost both games 3-1 and 2-0. I remember being at the home game for that one. And, throughout, the first team here is in red. But throughout, every time we've played Leipzig, whether it be under Ralf Rangnick in the Europa League or whether it be under Marco Rose in the... Was it Marco Rose or was it maybe Tedesco? I forget who the Leipzig manager was then. But Leipzig play the same way. Like, they're very predictable in that sense of, like, the system, the shape, and it's just about who's fit and available. They'll have a back 4, and then it'll be this 3-2 kind of set up where they've got 2 defensive mids, 2 attacking mids that have the full reign to go out wide, cover over in this area and be an attacking mid, or come out wide this side. Both of them split and go wide. Openda can maybe then run channels. They run this 3-2 system. The fullbacks will come up and down the line with Rom and Henriks, maybe somebody else depending on who they sign. And then between their strikers, they'll have a target man, a fox in the box like a Sesko, and then a hard-working guy, formerly Timo Werner, but now somebody like Lewis Openda. Now, this team actually worries me a lot more than Borussia Dortmund do, to be quite honest with you. I've tried my best to work out what the best 11 could be. They've made some transfers, and they've had some movement, so they've only played 1 Bundesliga match and a few Polka matches, cup matches, so hard to get a total sense on what the best 11 will be or who they'll play against us. But I think this will be something like it. And, I really don't fear this defense. I really don't fear, the midfield either, to be honest with you. In Leipzig, we are playing them at home. So at Celtic Park, like, I remember, it was the Europa League game where we played them and Tierney scored in the first 5 minutes. They equalised, and then Edward or Dembele, somebody scored like right after Leipzig scored. I could see us having that type of match again. The only thing that stops me being kind of half confident, I'd like to see us play that system in UCL with the Dortmund one. I think it would work for us quite well, to be honest with you. But I don't see Rodgers at this stage mixing it up to that level. Maybe next season's Champions League we might see something from there. But yeah, Charlie Brick makes a great point. As much as I think that this could be a decent game for us, and I do think Leipzig, when they are away to us, the likes of Lukeba and Orban are proper like destroyer mid centre backs. They'll be nice and deep. They'll let us come onto them, and they are like, to get that Wanyama video up for the intro this morning. I was going through my old Celtic videos of matches I've been to, and I've got one from when Ajax scored right at the last kick of the ball in the Europa League, and it knocked us out the group. And that's the route to go that Leipzig are going to have here. They're going to let us, well, they're not going to let us, it's going to be a 50-50 match, but when we are in possession, they will contract, they will come back. And as soon as that ball gets turned over, Rom is going to fly, Simons is going to fly, Openda and Nusa, they're just going to bomb on. And that's when recovery pace, and that's when recovery defending, one of our biggest weaknesses at this level, will be in full show. It's the main thing that's held Greg Taylor back. It's the main thing that I've got my gripes about Callum McGregor playing in defensive mid. And it's maybe one of the things that you could show scales up with, because recovery running isn't his strong suit. And when you look at, like, as I say, don't discount Rom. Like, Rom is going to be right up here. Now, I do think Alistair Johnston's probably one of the best players to pocket this guy and stop him being a bit of a threat or whatever. But the way that they will get high with Rom, have Simons, maybe Openda and Nusa, like, just kind of popping in around these spaces and getting away from markers, playing in the shadows and over the shoulder, that kind of thing. The attack is, I think it's the most dangerous attack we're going to face, to be honest with you. But the overall 11 and the style of play, I think we're well combated too, because if they do just sit 2-2, box midfield, and then the two forwards, maybe sometimes the two forwards might split a little bit. Nusa's maybe going to come central. Sesko, they maybe do something like this off the ball. I think we could get a lot of shots. We can create a lot of goal scoring opportunities here. But it will be, everyone needs to win their 1v1s. Everyone needs to win their individual battles. But I think this is one, like, this is a home game as well. If we were to get another point or points out of that 12 that people fancy we're going to get from the easy games, I think this might be one of the ones where we do it. Galashi is a wall of a keeper, and he's a guy that can Fraser Foster us. Like, we could have 25 shots on target, and he could be diving and saving and catching them all. Now, with this being the Champions League, I don't think they'll rotate their goalkeepers. But when we've played Leipzig before, they have had a European keeper and a domestic keeper. Last time we played them, it wasn't. It was just Janis Blaswich. And I don't know if he was playing in Europe and Galashi was playing in Bundesliga, or if Galashi was injured then. I can't remember, but I'm sure it was Blaswich we played against last time. But when we played them in the Europa League, they played Jan and Vogel, who's now in France, and he was rubbish against us, wasn't he? And they didn't play Galashi in Europe. They played in Vogel. So I wouldn't rule out seeing Van der Voort play, but I wouldn't say it's a given either, to be honest with you. So I think that this is maybe one of the games we could get some unexpected points from, which would be good fun for us, because this would be a real, I don't know if I'd call that a scalp, because it is Leipzig, they don't have huge pedigree and history and all the rest of it, but the standard of the squad and the business they've been doing, I'd say they're firmly pot one, no two ways about it. So, yeah, it'd be nice to see if we can get some points out of the German teams. The next ones we come to, let's look at Atalanta, who were last season's Europa League winners. You might have watched them in the Europa Super Cup final against Real Madrid 2 weeks ago or something like that. Very, very busy in the transfer market. Of course, Celtic fans will be kind of familiar with some of their squads because they were trying to get Matt O'Reilly from us. And under Gasperini, I don't know how long Gasperini's been the Atalanta manager. But similar to Leipzig, you know exactly how they're going to line up. You know exactly what the style of play is going to be. It's just going to be a matter of who's fit and available and who they actually call upon. Now, they've just signed Odilon Kosunu from Leverkusen. They brought in Godfrey as well. They've got Scalvini, who's a top Italian international waiting to happen. He's out injured at the moment. They've brought in Bellanova. They've brought in Sulemana, Zaniolo, Quadrado, Brescianini, if you can say that. Samardzic, who was the replacement. Samardzic and Brescianini were the alternative to Matt O'Reilly. They bought two players instead of getting O'Reilly. But the best 11 here kind of does pick itself. Maybe in right back, there's a lot of room for change here. Zapakos has been solid, but Bellanova was very impressive at Torino last year and got into the Italy team as a result. Brandon Soppy was linked to us once upon a time, and Quadrado is 39 and he's just signed, and he'll be playing somewhere on one of these wings, you think, in some sort of intermittent fashion. But Ederson, the defensive kind of box-to-box, all-energy midfielder, you maybe heard him being linked to the likes of Tottenham and one or two other kind of bigger teams around England. But other than that, like, they've got a back three that they will defend with. That this back three, whoever it is, it might be Darun. Darun might play in midfield. Who do we have? Atalanta. We have them away, so they're probably a bit more attacking because they'll be at home. But yeah, these three guys will defend, and then the wide guys get really high and stretch the team. That gives the likes of Lookman and CDK, Charles de Ketelaar, a lot of freedom to go around. And similar to kind of the Leipzig thing we were just looking at, overload, double up, play in the shadows, underlapping runs, square it for tap-ins, all this kind of thing. So depending on how attacking they go from midfield, again, it's kind of similar to that triple two system, but they put an extra man in defence and take him out of attack. So it's quite a similar system in a roundabout way. Retegui and Lookman and CDK, these guys are all guys that have proper magic in their boots, similar to like Xavi Simons and Openda, these types of guys, you know. So away from home, Atalanta are very free scoring. I actually think, you know, there's a chance that this could be the game we concede the most goals in. Carnesecchi is our goalkeeper. He's 24 years of age, and he's getting a growing reputation in Italian football, certainly. But yeah, Ederson, the defensive midfielder with the back three, and then the rest of the team is kind of free to bomb on and attack and keep the pressure on the opposition, keep the opposition in their half, shoot from the edge of the box, get the ball wide and cross it. They're just very direct, high octane, high energy, and they're not going to change anytime soon. The second string is very formidable, and this is a team that, compared to the last two we've looked at, is probably the strongest in terms of quality and depth. So even if we aren't hanging here with Atalanta for the first half, the first 60 minutes, the bench will make a big difference for both teams in this one. CCV missed training. Yay. Isn't that bloody great news right now? Well, these are the bigger teams, Mickey. These are the bigger teams, you know. So as much as a great draw, we've still got tough games. That's exactly it. And yeah, Iwata must be going. Maybe Iwata's going to play the weekend at centre back. Who will play with Scales then? Will it be Welsh? Will he throw Trusty right in? The Rockies apparently on his way out. Maybe talk about that later today, guys. Maybe come back for another video or a show or something. But yeah, Dortmund, Leipzig, Atalanta, very strong opponents. I'm not hopeful of getting much out of the three of them, but if we are to get something out of one of them, I'm taking Leipzig at home. I don't think Atalanta away or Dortmund away are matches that we'll be able to get a lot of fun out of. Let's lighten it up a bit. Let's look at Club Brugge. So we should beat them, right? They're coming to Parkhead. They're coming to Paradise. This is one of the best draws you could have got. Maybe Bruges away would have been better. You could have took, who else was in that pot? Atalanta. Could have maybe took Atalanta at Celtic Park rather than in Bergamo. So, yeah, but going away to Belgium isn't something we were worried about. I think we've beaten Anderlecht once or twice and got some, you know, we've won in Anderlecht. It's one of our only Champions League like kind of wins or whatever. So we shouldn't be too worried about it. They've just sold Nusa to Leipzig, which we've just seen him there. But otherwise, to be honest with you, this Bruges team isn't covered with that much Champions League level quality, as it were. The back four, we are going to score goals. We will score goals against Bruges. Brandon Michele, Ordonez, or whether it be Spielers or Romero, or even Boyata, who's been completely bombed out, or Arnamat. Like, they've got tons of centre backs. They'll have a defence, but their defence, like, none of them would get into our team, in my opinion, to be honest with you. But Sequay and De Kuiper are top end kind of Europa League level fullbacks, as I would think of them. They like to bomb on. They're very attacking, and you know they can make something happen. They're very happy to do that. The midfield is a bit more pedestrian. Onyedika is that defensive shield midfielder. Hans Vanaken is like he's like their McGregor. He's played there his whole career. He's rejected moves to the Premier League as their captain. He's the main guy in midfield. He's always getting in amongst like goals and assists or whatever, but he's not highly skillful. He's not like rapid. He's just like a top quality, you know, kind of O'Reilly-ish, you know, kind of centre mid. And then whether it be Vidlesen, Nielsen, Jashari, I'm not too sure who the third man would be in here. It might be this kind of free shape if Celtic that they're playing against, but generally when they're domestically playing, it might be a bit more like that, where Vanaken might play in a bit more of the playmaker role, a bit more attacking. But I might see it being a bit more of Vanaken and Vitesse and Onyedika drop a bit deeper as a result. The main problem or the main threat for Bruges does come from their attack, right? Because you might remember, Celtic fans were talking about it quite a lot, but last year they qualified out of the group stages of the Champions League, and that was Ferran Jutla that was the main man. Now, he's kind of been bombed out. He's kind of like second in command now all of a sudden. And the boy Nielsen that they've brought in from Union Saint-Gilloise or USG, he's the one scoring goals for them now. Yeah, McLaughlin P. So Skov Olsen would be very good. I think he was linked to Arsenal, but Skov Olsen's a very good. So yeah, their attack is where they might cause us some problems because Nielsen or Jutla, they'll be happy to play against us in terms of like they won't be scared. They're not. It's not like Dortmund or PSG or something like that. They'll think I can get a Champions League goal against Celtic, and that's the kind of attitude that they'll come into the game with, no doubt. Tzolis, who's came into much kind of fanfare, is the main replacement for Nusa, who was the other kind of creative wide player. And between Solis, Skov Olsen, and the fullbacks, these are the main areas that I think Bruges could do something against us. Because you think about the wide areas, that's kind of like Alistair Johnson's great on one side, but if we have Kuhn on that side, Kuhn's fine tracking back and all the rest of it. Maybe it'd be Forrest on this occasion. On the left-hand side, Taylor, maybe Valley, and Maeda, I think we'll have a pretty good shift against Sequay and Skov Olsen. But if they are to get something from me, it is going to come from the wide areas. And then they've got a fox in the box in Nielsen or Jutla from the bench. This Vermont's coming off the bench as well and supplementing the attack, as well as Scoris, which I thought was quite a funny name for a forward. Yeah, I kind of agree with that, to be honest with you. And yeah, you're saying this, yeah. McLaughlin P were on the same page. So yeah, this isn't a game I'm worried about, but it's definitely not one you can take lightly because the wide areas is maybe our weakness at this level, and it's certainly their strength. Midfield, if we go man for man, toe to toe, I'm really confident in the likes of McGregor and Hatate, certainly. Let's see who the third man is. And I say I'm really confident in our attack that we'll put balls past Mignolet, we'll get shots on target. Take Bruges to score 2+ goals every week on the coupon. Yeah, they're all right for that, aren't they? They're quite solid without being spectacular in Belgium. So yeah, I fancy us to get 3 points and against Bruges, no problem at all. Who will we look at next? We've got who will we have a look at next? Zagreb. We've got Zagreb, Young Boys, Bratislava, Villa. Let's look at Zagreb. So Zagreb, again, Zagreb are in a kind of position to us, right? Now, we're quite familiar with Zagreb being like one of the worst teams in the Champions League normally when it's the 4-team group stages. They're normally up there with us if we're having a bad year for who's had the worst season. And to be honest with you, I really don't know what to make of Zagreb. Now, we're playing them away, I'm sure. Yeah, we are. We're going away to Zagreb. And I'm not too sure how they would set up against us, to be honest with you, because they've been quite flexible over the last, their season is actually a good couple of games underway already. Let's put this screen on. Let's go and get the Zagreb screen. I'll show you what I mean. A lot of repeat characters, so that they clearly have like a best 11, or they definitely know their best players, but they don't always play the same sort of shape. Why is this not coming up for me? There it's there. I don't know why. Okay, let's put this screen share on. Stop screen share there, and let's share Zagreb. If we have a look at the way Zagreb have lined themselves up, even just this season, so the first game at home to Istra, they've won 5-0, 4-2, 3-1, and you can see some of the main players and the main guys that have been contributing the goals here. Away to Osijek, 4-2, 3-1. Playing Cybernik, 4-2, 3-1. Playing Qarabag, 4-1, 4-1. Kind of similar, isn't it? It's just a wee bit of an alteration. Playing Gorica in between Champions League games, 3-5-2. And again, we see the likes of, some of their backup players maybe starting this one before they had to go to, where the hell are Qarabag again? It's not Georgia. It's Azerbaijan, isn't it? And then when they go away to Azerbaijan, it's 4-1, 3-2. So there's a little bit of alteration. They've got a little bit of versatility there for how they might want to set up against us in particular, or any of their teams are going to play. But obviously, we only care about how they'll face up against us. Now, with them being at home, I don't think they'll be too defensive. I think the 4-2-3-1 thing will probably be the way they go. And the thing with Zagreb is we know is they're always good for selling players to the elite, the top end of European football. And they never really seem to retain a generation and have, like, I never hear of Zagreb doing anything in the UEFA Cup, the Europa League, whatever. Let's see if they ever get into the Conference League one year. Maybe they could do something. But, and again, I don't look at this team and I don't think there's many Champions League level players here, to be quite honest with you. Perkovic, I thought would have been a good signing for us. Let's see how good he does. Baturina has got a high reputation. grown throughout Europe. Probably somebody that we couldn't afford. He'll probably go for, like 15 to 18 million to someone in the Bundesliga or to Italy in due time. Piaka has played a lot in Italy, never really quite worked out for him, and he's back, and he's way above the level of the Croatian league, so he looks like a hero. Petkovic, the Croatian striker, you may be familiar with from the Euros. And then the likes of Rog, Stojkov, Kacavenda, Kulinovic, Spikic, Cordoba, Hoxa. They've got tidy players. Like this will kind of be like, I don't want to be disparaging, but this is kind of like playing Hearts, where it's a team that is like definitely in our league in terms of quality of player, budget, whatever, but they're no mugs. Like if you show up and you think that you're going to beat them, you take them lightly, you fall asleep at the wheel, there's a chance they can punish this here. I wouldn't be surprised, but because it's the route to goal is big Petkovic, and then it's the creative players around that. The way we play, I wouldn't be surprised if this Petkovic could get marked out the game, to be honest with you. And a lot of their crosses and a lot of the plays that they're trying to do, we're able to sweep up from the likes of Vickers if he's fit. Big Casper, of course, as well. But I don't see, like, Rostovsky is more like a centre-back. So if they are starting Rostovsky here, this is going to kind of shuffle into a 3. They'll let the left-back, whether it be Ogiwara, Perkovic, or this Gabriel guy, he's played here a bit as well. They'll bomb on. And then between Misic covering, Sucic kind of operating in this area, Baturina being the playmaker, and then those incisive forwards supporting the forward. This is kind of narrow, and that really suits us, to be honest with you. So, yeah, definitely not as daunting as it was ever daunting. But yeah, they've not got Guardiols, they've not got Modric's coming through their ranks and all these, yeah. Hail 420 and all you guys as well joining us. There's a bunch of you on Facebook and YouTube watching us. Let me know what you think of the draw, how many points you think we're going to get. But yeah, I can see this being like a both teams to score and a win. Like maybe they can get a goal. They are at home, but honestly, I could see a clean sheet as well. Bit of a scouting job for us on Baturina, perhaps. I'd love to see him come in, and Perkovic. If these are guys we could get, like if we could afford them, love to see them get a look in. So yeah. Zagreb, definitely not worried. I think that could be a 3 points we could pick up, but we will need to probably score 2 or more in that one. And then who do we come to? Because the other teams were kind of harder to build the board for. We'll jump to Aston Villa because I've got them in front of me. Oh no, it's not the right Villa one there, sorry. And let's put Young Boys on, right? Because Young Boys, now the Young Boys situation, right, is actually quite a funny one, right? Because Young Boys have qualified for the Champions League. I don't think we've ever played them before, of course. Young Boys of Bern. Yeah, my sorry, our data's not working too hot today. Wait for it to catch up, because to qualify for the Champions League, now I've done my best. I don't watch. I watch all the other teams that we've looked at basically to this point, but I don't get to see the Young Boys of Bern, right? Which I don't really think we're missing out on much here. But if we have a look at how they qualified for the Champions League, they beat Galatasaray 1-0 away with their second choice goalkeeper pulling off an absolute masterclass of a game, 73 out of 100 rating. They got a goal off the bench in the last 20 minutes of the match. Cedric Eaton, formerly of them, came off the bench for the assist. But at home, they beat Galatasaray by 3 goals to 2. And this is the sort of team that they laid out, a 4-4-2. If we open the game up and we see what Galatasaray looks like, you'll see this wasn't a weak Galatasaray team. Very much full strength. Gabriel Sara, huge money transfer this summer. Lucas Torreira and Muslera, I'm sure. Oh, goalkeeper injured at halftime. Dries Mertens, Mauro Icardi starting. Never mind Batshuayi and Ziyech off the bench. So, like, this isn't a fluke that they've got here. They've very much earned it. And I don't think we should be taking anything away from them. At home, where do we play Young Boys? At Celtic Park. Good stuff. So, at home, I think whenever we've seen them in Europe before, obviously, we've not played them, but just if you've been a neutral observer, Young Boys can score some goals at home in the Europa League, and whenever they've played like Man United and stuff like that, they've never been total pushovers. But coming away to Celtic Park, like the squad is kind of thin, it's kind of unknown. I thought it was hilarious that their number 1 goalkeeper, his name is Von Ballmoose. So I thought that was really funny. If you're going to get a Turkish team, though, get them in August. Okay, fair. Why is that? The rest of the team, I see they're not household names. I'm not familiar with them. You can kind of look at their formations and see that it's either going to be a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2, depending on if they're going to sit in or they're going to try and attack out. Sadi Janko is probably the number one right back, but he's not played so far this year. There's been this guy Blum, and he's done pretty well against Galatasaray, so it's hard to imagine he gets completely bombed out. Niasse is formerly of Lille, so like a French Ligue 1 kind of controlling midfielder type. They're okay. This is a team that really, like, if we score quick enough, we could get quite a famous result, I think, because they definitely won't give up. They'll give for as long as they can. They've just beat Galatasaray over 2 legs. This is a one-off match against us. They probably won't be fearful or anything like that. But the overall standard and quality of the team that we have, our best 11 at Celtic Park, under the floodlights, I think it'll be too much for this team, to be quite honest with you. I would expect them to score, but because, again, just of what we've seen there against Galatasaray, but we don't know too much about young boys in terms of who the standouts are and really what other kind of surprises they might be able to spring on us. So we've got Bratislava and Villa left. I think we've looked at everyone else besides. So let's look at Villa and then we'll go to Bratislava last. So where did I put the Villa squad? Villa, there we go. Now, Villa have been one of my favourite kind of neutral teams to follow over the last couple of windows. I'm a big fan of Unai Emery, and I'm a big fan of Monchi, who's like the sporting director there. Those two guys just work so well together in tandem to build a team, to get players that fit the system, and to sell guys on a high, buy guys cheap. They're very, very good at doing that. Their squad's very busy, very high level. Best goalkeeper in the group that we'll face, Emi Martinez. This will be at Villa Park as well. I made my first appearance at Villa Park last year, which is good crack, and I think Celtic fans will really enjoy it. And this is a kind of combo of some of the other teams that we've seen already, because what Villa like to do is they like this, and again, the first team's in purple. They like to do this kind of 3-2 system again, whether it be 2 defensive mids, 2 free reigning attacking mids, and then 2 forwards. But the forwards will give the width, you know, whether it be on one side and then one will stay as centre forward, or whether it be on both sides if they're being defensive and they're retreating back, you know. They're trying to be quite compact in a 4-2-4 kind of shape. So I think this is the way they'll play against us for the most part. Now, Aston Villa had a pretty good, where did they get to? The semi-finals of the Conference League last year, but they didn't, you know, it wasn't smooth sailing for them. You know, they lost to Legia, they played, let's have a look at it. They played some decent Europa Conference League opponents, and they weren't overly convincing throughout the group stage. It would be too much jiggery-pokery to, like, bring the result of the game up and then look at the team, but we'll try our best. So the reason I bring this up, right, is because obviously the Conference League is not the same. They had Hibs in the qualifying, didn't they? So where's the Hibs game? There's Hibs. Let's share this screen. And then we'll find it after they beat Hibs 5-0. And then I need to zoom in on this to make it a bit more clear for you guys. Oh, there we go. That's lovely. Right, so where do we get to? Yeah, so that's December. There's Legia. Let's scroll back. Right, so they beat Hibs, and then they get into the group stages. 3-2 away to Legia Warsaw. They lost. Let's just click on this game quickly. We'll have a look at the squad. I'll probably need to adjust the zoom again, but McGinn, Bailey, Zaniolo, Tielemans, Boob Camara, Emi Martinez. Like, that's a full-strength team. 3-2 loss away to Legia. The zoom's all over the place, guys. I'm sorry. I probably lost the little position I was on this as well. And then from there, that put them really on the back foot for qualifying out of the group. And although they did rotate and stuff, I went too far back. Although they did rotate and stuff like that, they were still playing really strong lineups. So they lose 3-2 to Legia. They only win 1-0 at home to Zrinjski. That's a team from Bosnia. And again, can we have a look at let's have a look at their team in a second. They go away to AZ and win 4-1. They beat AZ 2-1. And then at that point, it's kind of like they've made up for their sins. They beat Legia and then they draw away to Zrinjski. Now, they might have rotated that match, but if we look at the game that only beat Zrinjski 1-0 at Villa Park, McGinn, Tielemans, Bailey, Zaniolo, maybe Duran isn't first choice, but Konsa, Big DC, Emi Martinez, Douglas Luiz come on at half-time. Very, very strong team. You know, so Villa are definitely not like playing City or playing Liverpool or anything like that, because Villa are still under massive pressure to qualify for top 4 again, to qualify for European football, to qualify for Champions League again. So I don't think they'll take our game lightly. I think Unai Emery's too experienced for that. Tony Mack, fist bump, good to see you. All of you that are joining us on Facebook and Twitter, don't forget to hit the like button and jump into the comment section, jump into the live chat and let me know how many points you think we need and what you think of the draw. But depending on what team they play, like there's not really a bad team they could field against us. There's a few like Courtney House, this Costa guy, Lewis Dobbin, Philogene. That's kind of the guys that are weaker. The rest of this team is full. There's not a non-full strength team to be made here. I don't think there's so many players that are so competitive for the same positions that, yeah, it's really hard to figure out. But it is a one-off game at Villa Park, and I think this could be a game that would suit us in the sense of like the Battle of Britain atmosphere. We've done so well with it over the years with Liverpool, Man United's, and Blackburns, and whoever else there's been over the years. Man City, of course, undefeated with Rodgers versus Pep. So this could work out for us quite well. It will require a huge defensive performance, but depending on where the fixture lands and the pile-up that Villa have got domestically, it might help us. Because as you've seen there, playing Conference League opponents with really strong lineups, like they're not infallible. They've not got... The thing with Villa is they don't really have any world-class players in their squad. These are all top elite, top Premier League level players. One or two of them certainly are Champions League level. Maybe Emi Martinez is world class. I'd maybe give him that. But yeah, very much a beatable Premier League team overall. Krajic, fist bump, my man. Good to see you. The English media will do our team talk for us. Yeah, you can say that again. No, I don't think we'll be selling Carter Vickers, Kieran. I don't think that's what's going on there. Yeah. They were quite patchy last year. So what happened with them last year is they got like into the title race for Christmas, and they kind of, even when all the fanfare was around them, they kind of held firm for a good bit. But then as the Europa Conference League, like last 16 quarters and semis came around, the league form really evaporated. So definitely not infallible. Definitely not. Watkins against Scales, yeah, fine. Yeah, we're not going to keep a clean sheet against Villa. Could we get a draw? I think we could get a draw. I don't think we could beat them. I think we could get a draw. A 1-1, a 2-2. Maybe something a bit more spectacular. I could definitely see it. But yeah, they're going to make it narrow. And again, teams that want to make it narrow just suits us. They'll want Matson on this side. They'll probably have Bailey on this side for the width. Watkins is the arrowhead. Box midfield. Tuck the back three in. Tuck the back four into a back three. I think that kind of suits us, to be honest with you, that style of play. As long as we're fully fit, fully firing, and, focused on and doing the job at hand. So, like, I quite fancy us to get a draw against Villa. I think that's kind of where I'm walking myself into here. And then with Bratislava, I couldn't actually do the analysis that I would like to do for them because they're in such a low-ranking league that they've got such little coverage for like statistics capture. So what we can see is what they did to qualify. So they beat Midtjylland, depending on who you want to talk to, over 2 legs, a 1-1 draw away in Denmark. Now, none of these guys are household names, except for Kevin Wimmer, actually. I never noticed him on the first time around. That is Kevin. Yeah, Kevin Wimmer, 31. He used to play for Spurs. He's okay. And Blackman, Caesar Blackman. Thought it might have been, who was it played for us? Andre Blackman? Thought it might have been him. So yeah, this is their team. Vladimir Weiss, 34 years of age. Didn't notice his name first time around. And Sabonic, formerly of some teams in Europe, I think is in their ranks. Kutka is, 37. He's an experienced Czech Republic or Slovakian international or something like that. They've got some guys here. But again, this should be 3 points. If we don't get 3 points in this one, it's thoroughly embarrassing. Last year, they got to the Europa Conference League and they played it through to... They got out of the group stages. Gerson Rodriguez doesn't look to be there anymore. And they lost to Sturm Graz over 2 legs. 4-1 loss. But this team out, Vladimir Weiss getting sent off after coming off the bench. That's funny. And in the second leg, they lost 1-0. Oh, yeah, they had the Canada goalkeeper. He's went to Saudi Arabia now. No one else in the squad really jumps out. But in their Conference League, they lost to Olympia. They beat a team from Iceland. They drew with Lille. at home. Where are we playing Bratislava? Celtic Park? Yeah, Celtic Park. That's fine. They lost away to Lille. Only 2-1, but to give them credit, Olympia, they beat them 1-0. And the team from Iceland, they beat them 2-1. And they eliminated Maccabi Haifa on that occasion to qualify. So, like, yeah, this is not a Champions League level team. It's definitely a team we should be beating. I think that would give us 3 points there. So, if we have a look again, I'm actually quite, now that I've walked, I kind of set this video up today, or this stream up, but I never actually tried to think, what do I actually think will get points-wise? So, let's have a look at the fixtures again. Now that we've went through the teams that we're playing. The name Bratislava makes me squirm. Yeah, well, Bratislava, you know, that name, if you're of a certain age, you've definitely heard it before. So Leipzig at home, I'm going to say draw. 1 point. Dortmund away loss. Brugge at home win. 4 points. Atalanta away, we're going to lose. Young Boys at home, 7 points. Dinamo away, 10 points. Bratislava at home, 13 points. Villa at home, or no, Villa away, 1 point. So I think we're going to get 14. 14 is what I would hope for on the balance of play and probability. 2 of these games will happen next year. I don't know if they happen, we'll see when the fixtures come out. I think they're going to happen like end of January, beginning of Feb, or maybe in Feb, which means the January window could reinforce us. So it depends on what the last 2 games are and how the league is sitting or whatever. We have to play 2 defensive mids. Yeah, we probably will. We probably will. We'll probably leave Hatate up to support, and then McGregor and Engels, or McGregor and Bernardo, or whatever, will probably double pivot for us. I'm with you there, Andy. Great suggestion, great comment. Yeah, and our front three is very break friendly. You know, Kyogo, Maeda, Kun, even Forrest for the last 10 minutes. Ida is mobile for a big guy. He's definitely not slow. Maybe not Palma and Yang, but we want to think about it in this kind of reckoning. But yeah, I think 14 points is attainable for us. And if we got 14, I'd be hyper confident that we're going to qualify through the next round. But yeah, it's very knife edge for some of these games. Like if you don't get that draw against Leipzig, then the 14 becomes 13. And if you don't get that draw against Villa, the 13 becomes 12. And then I've got a feeling that 12 is going to be a mudslinger. It's going to be goal difference. It's going to be, I wonder what it is after goal difference. Is it goals scored? But I wonder, because obviously away rules, like, you know, when it breaks down to that level, when the home games become the decider, I don't know. But very good draw. A lot to be optimistic about. There's really not many games here I think we're totally written off in. Like Atalanta, Dortmund, Leipzig, Villa are clear uphill battles. Of that, there is no question. And the other 4 are quite the opposite. But again, Leipzig, I wouldn't rule us out causing some level of upset on that. Dortmund should score a lot of goals against us, but their goalkeeper is beatable. Depends on how they're. Again, Dortmund have always got a history over recent years of bad injury records and stuff. So again, I wouldn't rule us out, but it's hard to be confident about it, isn't it? Atalanta is probably the one I'm the most fearful of. I think Atalanta could beat us by like a PSG scoreline if anyone in this group was to do it. 10 points, maybe 12 for Mikey. What do you think the point needed will be to go through? Yeah, it's going to be like 12 or 13. I think that's going to be the bubble. Some people think the bubble might be 10. So if you get above 10, you'll be fine. But I think 11 or 12, maybe 13, yeah, like 13 to be in for sure. It's going to be so tough because it's not just looking at one. You need to look at every fucking team and look at everyone they're playing and get the abacus out and try and work out, right, well, they're going to finish on 15. They'll finish on 18. You know, goal difference. Yeah. 9 points. You think McLaughlin could squeeze it? I'm not that optimistic. I think under 12 is really dicey. Really dicey. And as far as I understand it, there's no trapdoor into the Europa League either. So it's do or die. 10 points, you reckon, Andy? Fair enough, I could see it. Excellent, guys. We've hit 8,000 subscribers on CELTIC'S here, YouTube certainly anyway. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please make sure you do. Thanks to everyone that has subscribed already. As we've got the Europa League draw and the Conference League draw on my YouTube at the moment. So we'll see who they get drawn against. I'm sure it'll be funny. As they sell all their players for a packet of crisps. I know we're using Cantwell's as like the measurement at the moment, but seeing that guy Scott Wright go for pennies as well, it's just hilarious, isn't it? Never mind, we're all forgetting Connor Goldson's went to Cyprus. Connor would walk into the Celtic team. Goldson went to Cyprus. Love it. But yeah, guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. And is there a wee thing I could leave the video on? I'll probably put the Wanyama video on again, and we'll call it a video, guys. But yeah, have a good one. Stay out of trouble. And we'll catch you on the next one. Hail, hail, Moan the Hoops.
Four.